let's talk a little bit about the CHIPS Act. This is something I think near and dear to both of our hearts. Not thinking we need to, give the background on the act. If you haven't heard about it, long and short is the government has basically, Senate and House has passed, but has not been able to reconcile and get through to law a $52 billion spend to basically increase manufacturing, but also R&D, innovation, and ecosystem for chips to create more resilience in the supply chain. That's the long and the short. The long and the short of it is we identified during the pandemic that we are hyper dependent. We've moved from 37% to less than 12% of all chips being produced here. And on top of that, we're at 0% on the leading edge. Zero. We don't produce any of the leading edge chips. So effectively, if Xi Jinping in China decided tomorrow to pull a Putin on Taiwan, we would literally just stop all availability of leading edge chips. So you're talking about the phones and the computers and the servers and all this stuff would basically be crushed. And so companies like Intel have made nearly 100 billion plus in commitment to build super fabs here in the US. But that was based upon the Semiconductor CHIPS Act passing. And at this point, Intel is pulling back, stalling construction because they're not getting the support from the government. But we got 120 companies or so over the last few weeks that have signed. This is everyone from Google and Microsoft and Amazon and Qualcomm and Intel, all basically pressing the government to pass this legislation and put it into law so we can get going. You're talking about 2 years before the first fab, and that's ambitious, would be up and running. And again, it's going to take time for that supply. You got to bring the right expertise, the right engineering, the right equipment. We have shortages on equipment, shortages on substrate. We have shortage. So much here, Pat, to go wrong. And yet we can't pass this law. We cannot get our leadership. And by the way, it's bipartisan. So it is freaking crazy that we are still stuck in this position. This is a problem for national security. This is a problem for our supply chain. This is a problem of risk for our global technology leadership. And so I don't want to say much more because I want to leave a little bit in this for you, Pat, but I wrote an op-ed on Market Watch about it. I'll put it in the show notes. It's disgusting that we cannot pass this. We are so messed up as a country right now. We can't even pass things we all agree upon because we can't stop putting garbage into our bills that are slowing it down. Because by the way, everybody, that's why it's not passing, because we got a bunch of politicians with personal agendas that are shoving total crap into this bill. And we have a few politicians that are standing up against it for all their own wrong reasons. And now nothing is getting done. Pat, over to you.
Daniel, 20 years ago, when I worked with analysts such as us now, and I heard them, I don't know, what seemed like a bunch of negativity, I'm just thinking, I hope I don't get negative like them, right? And now here I am. I'm old and I have experience, and stuff like this really pisses me off. I mean, the common sense crew has left from Washington. There's a few people who get it. They're lumping all, like you said, they're putting a lot of the woke fat into this bill, which is keeping it from getting passed. And I guess you have to expect that, but do we have to? And then you have other people who are looking at this as like some stimmy check, right? This is our long-term investment to the future and sovereignty of this company. And it needs to be up there with U.S. defense, which, by the way, rarely, if ever, gets cut unless, I don't know, a president like Obama comes in. But, typically, a president is maxed in there for 8 years. So the person who comes in after them typically bounces that up, or we get into a conflict where we realize that we should not have underinvested. So, Daniel, I think, I'm considering taking a more active stance on this. It's just a matter of time. I thought that all of the dollars that were being paid to lobbyists would have been able to get this thing over this. Daniel, we should get all the relevant CEOs into a room and have a discussion on this to highlight this.
We could call it the U.S. Semiconductor Leadership Roundtable. I love the idea. I think, in fact,
it's a brilliant idea.
We should try to do it in August, maybe even sooner. But, I think a lot of vacations right now. But if this thing doesn't pass by this fall, watch out.